So whenever you are ready to begin, we do have 40 participants here.
All right, great. All right, well, hello everyone, and thank you all for joining us today. And I'll take off my mask now. We're here at the Emergency Operations Center in Covington and in Kenton County. Been here almost every day since the fire occurred and the crash occurred on the bridge 1 week ago. I'm going to come back to that. We got several things we want to cover today. We want to talk about the repairs to the bridge, the plan for that. And I want to talk first, however, about the official order that I will be executing today. The official order, what the official order does, it's related to traffic. And what it does is it confirms the activities and the work, the traffic management that we have already employed. It provides an alternative interstate route around Covington, 275, around Covington and Cincinnati for commercial vehicles. It relieves the congestion then. The objective of this is to relieve the congestion, especially in the local communities, especially in local streets in Covington. Now, what we're doing here is we're looking for cooperation. We're looking for cooperation with especially commercial vehicles. This is not about penalties, but what it does is it prohibits commercial vehicles from taking 71 and 71 north of 275, and it reroutes around 275. So again, we're looking for cooperation. So we want the word to get out that that this official order has been executed, and that commercial vehicles should not be going north of 71, north on 71 and 75, north of 275. Okay, Bob Yeager, our Chief District Engineer here in District 6, will be able to take more questions and help us with those in just a minute. Bob, I'm going to introduce Bob. You can sit back down, but I'm sure you're going to be asked to come back up. All right, now let me next give you an update on the repairs to the Brent Spence Bridge. As I said earlier, 1 week ago today, the bridge was actually, vehicles on the bridge were on fire. It was an intense fire. It burned enough that it took a day, 24 hours to remove the debris and for the heat to settle, which allowed then our inspectors to get on the bridge. 2 days ago, we signed a contract with a plan in hand. We signed a contract for the repairs to the bridge. And the contractor has already mobilized, already has equipment on site, and plans to begin the actual demolition work, the saw cutting of the concrete on the upper deck on Friday. The contractor plans to work around the clock on the days that the contractor can be both efficient and safe. There are going to be some days, as a heads up, there are going to be some days that they arguably will not be able to work around the clock. But the plan is for a very intense operation around the clock. The objective, of course, is to hit the December 23rd deadline, the completion date, and the reopening of the bridge, December the 23rd, 37 days from when we executed the contract. Yesterday morning, the first of the stringer beams, that is basically the steel, the new steel that has to go into the below the deck of the upper deck. This is the steel that supports the upper deck, called stringer beams. They have arrived on site at a fabricator, and they will be delivered then to the site as soon as the contractor has the demolition work accomplished, done, and then ready for the new steel members to be installed. Our objective, of course, is to restore this bridge to a sound and sturdy and safe condition. I've got some slides that I want to show you now that illustrate both the earlier condition of the bridge after the fire and the plans for the repair work. This slide shows the affected area on the Brent Spence Bridge. It's roughly just under 200 feet of the span. The next slide shows the condition of the lower deck, the surface, the concrete surface, where the concrete, because of the intensity of the heat, the concrete actually could be characterized as bubbled. So the surface, we lost some of the surface. The concrete has structural integrity. It was tested, core tested vigorously, well, and the inspectors guided us into a plan which said that this area, the concrete surface, can be repaired, and it will receive first we will scarify it, what's called milling of the concrete, or grinding of the concrete surface for about a 3-inch depth. And then a new concrete surface, a repair surface, will be placed on top of it. Now this is the lower deck. The next slide should show the underside. This is a slide that shows the underside of the upper deck, where the fire occurred and where the stringer beams, that's the beams go head, as you look at it, the smaller ones north and south. These beams at the area of the most intense heat will be removed and replaced. Okay, the next slide. The next slide just illustrates some of the folks that were on the job site, the inspectors that were on the job site after the fire, working. Some of these, they were working literally around the clock. We had and have had many people behind the scenes supporting them, like the laboratories, 2 laboratories that were conducting tests of the core samples of both the steel and the concrete. So next slide, please. All right, let's come back to we talked earlier about the official order. So this illustrates the closed Brent Spence Bridge, of course, and where it illustrates where the local traffic only north of 275 at 71 and at 71 and 75. So only local traffic at that location. Bob's going to, and it also illustrates, of course, 275 reroute. And Bob Yeager can speak to this. We may need to pull this slide back up for Bob. All right, the next slide, please. The repair work, which shows us a computer simulation of the repair work. Have we got it?
Yes, sir. One second.
All right. Okay, no problem. While we're getting those slides up, I've got a few more notes. Okay, all right, here we are. All right, this illustrates the actual location of the fire on the bridge, which is within the purple lines. Okay, both the lower deck, of course, and the upper deck, both north and southbound. Okay, next slide, please. This slide illustrates the replacement of the upper southbound deck, the concrete deck, and the barriers on both sides. All right? Okay, that's the next slide then. Now this slide shows what will occur after the demolition in that center section where it says remove steel beams. Those beams will be removed along with the concrete. Well, actually the concrete, of course, is removed first along that entire section. And that's because we had some damage to the concrete beyond that center section. So new concrete will then, new steel beams, the new steel beams will be replaced in that center section or the new steel beams will be placed in that center section. And then the concrete will be placed on the upper deck along with the barriers. And I believe the next slide shows, this slide shows the new beams that will be placed in the center section. And the next slide shows the replaced concrete deck, both on the upper deck and the new surface on the lower deck. Okay, all right. Now, I believe that's all the slides we've got. We can share those, of course, with you all, whoever wants them. Now, I want to introduce the leadership of both the bridge repair work and the traffic management teams that are working on this project. And so I'm going to ask these folks to come up behind me for just a minute. I'm going to introduce them first, Bob Yeager, and then after Bob, I'm going to ask Stacy Hans to come up. I want everybody to know what these folks look like. Bob Yeager, you can take your mask off later because I'm sure you're going to get a question or two. All right, sir. But Bob Yeager is the Chief District Engineer for District 6, this area. And in one way or another, I refer to him often as a seasoned veteran. He knows this area as well as anybody I know, and especially traffic and the work of the Transportation Cabinet, Department of Highways. Bob has been actually, in one way or another, been with the cabinet for 48 years. All right, the next person I want to introduce to you all is Stacy Hans. Stacy will be the project coordinator. And Stacy, too, is a veteran of the Transportation Cabinet. She is a seasoned veteran, and she is Bob's deputy, and in her role as project coordinator, she will have the authority for both the bridge repairs and for the traffic management. So Stacy, thank you very much. She has been, just like Bob, has been on the job as close to 24/7 in this last week as you could get and still have a bit of time to sleep. The last person I want to introduce is the project manager for the bridge repair work, and it's Corey Wilson. Corey, too, is an engineer with the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. Corey will be the project manager for the bridge repair work itself. Now, Corey, thank you. Thank you, sir. Behind these people are literally more than 100, I would say in the hundreds of people. Behind these people are the engineers. We had 4 engineering firms that were participating in the inspection work so that we had redundancy, so that we could confirm everything that was being done. Beyond the engineers, we're supporting cast of laboratory technicians and labs working to examine the materials. Behind these people were others at the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, specialists, and specialists in their areas, and subject matter experts, I would say, in structural steel, in concrete, in design, in fabrication, in estimating of quantities, and the repair work itself. And then there's the contractor and the contractor's staff, those who will be actually on the site. And behind them, working, are engineers who are helping with all the planning for the construction and the repair activities. So there is a host, as I said, there is quite a cast of talent, experience, and competence on this project. Now, we've talked about the bridge repairs themselves. Now I want to move over to the traffic management. Again, to traffic management. We are, of course, Bob and his team, Stacy, her team, they are constantly monitoring traffic in the area and are making adjustments as needed. The official order puts some more support or teeth in it. We're well aware of the issues, as I said earlier, between I-275 and the bridge on the Kentucky side. But meanwhile, I want to say this to everyone, please plan ahead. Please plan your drive, know your route. During these next, hopefully, 35 days now, it's going to be so important for folks to have a level of patience, of course, but also planning ahead. Okay, so I'm going to recap now and then we'll take questions. The bridge itself is today, even with the repairs that are underway, the bridge is safe as ever. The issue has always been an issue of capacity. Yes, the bridge was designed for 80 to 100,000 vehicles a day, and now it's getting as many as 170,000. So yes, there is an awareness, a heightened awareness of the issue associated with the capacity on this bridge. And I know that many people are discussing it and talking about it. Safety is job number one. I've said there will be no cutting corners on this project. No cutting corners at any time. Safety is number one. But at the same time, we are focused on safety. We know that this work can be done safely and efficiently. I've said that we're moving ahead with all deliberate speed, and we are, within the constraints of having a safe work site and quality workmanship for the project. All right, so I think I've covered what I intended to. Thank you all very much, and we'll take questions now. And I'll ask for subject matter experts to help me. Bob, where appropriate, of course, and Stacy and Corey as well. Thank you. Okay.
Excellent.
Mimi, can you help me direct this?
Absolutely. So members of the media, if you would like to ask a question, please click on the raised hand button, and we'll attempt to call on you all in order. And I will unmute you to ask your question. Please introduce yourself and the media outlet that you're with. So first, Tom Latek.
Hello, Jim. Tom Latek at Kentucky Today. Good to see you.
Yeah, Tom, how you doing?
Doing all right, doing all right. My question has to do with, as you know, we're heading into the coldest part of the year, and concrete doesn't cure too well when it gets really cold. Is there a critical temperature at which this concrete work needs to be done at?
Well, Tom, having been in the construction business myself before I got into a little bit of being a mayor, concrete is able to be cured under heated conditions. Now, that's up to the specialists, that's up to our inspectors to determine the exact conditions or the limits on that. There are opportunities in the construction process to actually create a heated environment. Now, that's up to the planning, the means and methods of the contractor. But our inspectors, we're going to have 5 inspectors on site all the time. Anytime work's going on, there will be an inspector on site. And I said earlier that that I would call on Corey or Bob or Stacy. And if you want a little bit more detail on this, we can ask Corey to come up. Corey, you want to speak to it? Those conditions.
No, you're absolutely right. The colder it gets, obviously the more difficult it is to construct. But we have specifications and in place for that. We have cold weather procedures. We'll ask the contractor to describe their plan for pouring during cold weather situations, and we'll have procedures for testing concrete in those conditions to mimic what the field conditions are for the concrete that was placed.
Good job. Thank you, sir.
Great.
So the concrete, bottom line to that is the concrete Concrete will be tested to confirm its strength. Tom? Anybody else? Okay.
Excellent.
Nick?
I'm good. Yeah, I got muted. I'm good. Thanks, Jim.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Next, we have Curtis Fuller.
Curtis, are you there?
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute myself. There you go. How's that?
Good, we got you.
Okay. I just had a question. You talked about safety, and I think one question that people still have is this just a Band-Aid fix for a much larger problem? And what recommendations do you have in terms of the larger issue regarding the Brent Spence Bridge? That's one of those $64 million questions, I guess.
Yes, sir. Well, I've said several times in the last few days that this bridge is sound and safe and sturdy. It was opened in 1963, yes. But I've also described it in the construction industry. When we describe something that's stout, we say it's built hell for stout. And that's an accurate statement for this bridge. This bridge still has a life in front of it as a safe bridge. We'll be maintaining it, of course. In fact, a painting contract is scheduled to be released soon. The larger question for Northern Kentucky, for Cincinnati, for this entire corridor that carries 200,000 vehicles a day and 3% of the nation's GDP. That's close to $600 billion. The larger question for the area here, for this region and beyond, is capacity. This bridge is clearly over its intended capacity. And that's why there's been so much conversation about a companion bridge. So from the technical side, which is what the transportation department, the transportation cabinet works from, technical side, this bridge is safe and sound and sturdy. Okay.
Great. Any other questions? I'm not seeing any other questions at this point, Secretary.
Well, then does that mean we did a reasonably good job? Hope so.
I think so.
All right, good. Good. Well, thank you all, everybody who came on. Thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.